Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blues Central Postgame on STL Sports Central, powered by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. The St. Louis Blues fall again tonight to the Vegas Golden Knights. 4-1 is your final score. Obviously, a back-to-back, 2 home games in a row for the St. Louis Blues, but a lot of frustrations for this team, a lot of frustrations for fans as the boos were raining in tonight, and rightfully so, because the Blues kind of looked uninspired from the jump, especially when your old friend Brandon Saad in his revenge game against your team is the first team to get them on the board. But I'm Thomas Welch here with Mike Meyer, and I would like to hear Mike Meyer's knee-jerk reaction, gut-wrenching reaction to tonight's performance from the St. Louis Blues.
Well, we were talking about this here just a quick minute ago, but this team is just it's exhausting, it's frustrating because you see the talent that's on this roster. Like you on paper, this should be at least a 500 team, but for whatever reason, I think your title here with this, the Blues are uninspired. They just are, and I love the reaction here from Philip Broberg here as he gets the last minute goal. To at least just break the shutout, and he just, yeah, okay, like we're going through the motions, cool, great guys, but yeah, no shots on goal here for 16 minutes. It was actually 18 and change. You go nearly an entire period here without getting a single shot here on goal. It's more than just the fact that Vegas is a good team. Yeah, sure they are, but again, like we talked about last night, that these guys are just, they're struggling here at times here as well. They're beaten up. This team should be able to at least put up a couple goals, and it's just downright frustrating. That's all I can be able to muster up at this point.
I think I've gotten to the point now to where it's like, I think everybody had expectations going into the season, but now like the expectations are changing because we're quarter of the way through the season. I'm expecting this team to disappoint me every night now, which is rough, but it's like, it's like very much a what have you done for me lately league. And that's the way that Jim Montgomery manages this team. And, I'm watching the product on the ice every night, and, they're just not able to compete with the majority of the teams in the NHL right now. And like, hopefully they figure it out and hopefully they shore it up. And, we've seen this team in 2019, like wait until the last second to turn it on. And even going back to last season, like wait until the last possible second to turn it on and still make the playoffs. But that doesn't change my perspective of like the constant struggles of this team right now. Like I'm not going to go into games against anybody expecting a win because I'm not going to leave a game feeling disappointed when I have all the material and all the data in the world to kind of, know how the games are going to play out before I even tune in. Like it's the inconsistency, it's the defensive breakdowns, it's, effort levels and battles along the boards, not going to the like gritty areas of the ice. I mean, you can watch the life almost leave Jim Montgomery's face, like with every goal, with every breakdown, with every struggle that this team faces. And it's like, at some point, like something's got to give, right? I mean, we finally did this post game called it that Pavel Buchnevich would be, eventually moved down the lineup, and we did see him, I think, on the third line tonight is what he ended up on. But even then, like I think Torpachenko was getting first line minutes with Robert Thomas and Jimmy Snuggerud, and it's like Jeremy says on the comment below, no shots for 16 minutes. Like,
you gotta do something.
What are you doing? Got to do something.
Do something. Toss something here into the mix and just see what happens. Because at this point, anything is a possible solution. Anything is a possible solution here for this team. And right now, you want to just look here at everything. Uninspired play, lack of motivation's been has been consistent here of the team over the last 3 seasons. Let's be honest. They're looking for that motivator. They're looking for something to be able to end up happening. And right now, like, they're just not getting it. You're really missing that Pat Maroon type, that Ryan Reeves, that somebody who's willing to spark some life here into this squad. And right now, like you just don't have it, and it shouldn't have to come from somebody fighting, because most of the time, like it doesn't really spark it the same way that it used to. You need somebody who's going to be able to jaw. You need somebody who's going to be able to, crack a joke. Somebody who's going to be able to just pat you here on the back and say, you know what, like I'm going to go get them next time. Like you need something, and right now you don't have a single person on this roster that's willing to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think, the defensive struggles have kind of bled into that. And I think for the most part in his role throughout the course of the season, like Matthew Kessel has played pretty well, but these last couple of games he's been struggling as well. And
Mm-hmm.
whether he's got Hunter Skinner or Tyler Tucker, like it seems like the revolving door of that third defensive pairing has not found like any real sustained success throughout the course of this season. And they're kind of scrambling to figure out what to do on that back end, including sending Logan Mailloux down was a big part of that, because you didn't trade for him thinking that you were going to send him down to the AHL. You traded Zachary Bolduc thinking you were getting an NHL player, and just hasn't turned out right now. And with a guy like Cam Fowler, it's kind of the same thing. Like he's trending in the wrong direction. We've been talking about him the last couple of post games, but he's up to a -10 now, and Braden Shen's a -11, and Pavel Buchnevich is a -8. And it's like, these are the guys that you relied on to drive your bus. Of like, these are the guys where you were like, okay, we don't have to worry about them. Like, let's try to, we can gamble a little bit on a Logan Mailloux. We can gamble a little bit on, bringing in a guy in like Pew Suter, or like a high upside guy like Bugstad, who's, scored a good amount of goals in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he gets like a resurgence here, but like, he's not going to be a 20-goal scorer for us, but like, maybe you get some positive ROI there, but we know what we have in our top six. And evidently they really don't know what they have from anybody right now.
Nope, and you're right. Before we get too far here into this, it's going to be a little of a tighter post game. STL Sports Central has a lot going on. It's a busy night here in town, and here like with Mizzou, the Billikens, the Blues. Just wanted to remind everybody that STL Sports Central's Blues Central post game here is brought to you by our business banking partners here at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us just since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, these relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team over here at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC, more than a bank, it's your business partner.
So that's perfect segue into our money moment of the game that is brought to you by Home Bank. Mike, if you had to, I know this was kind of an abomination of a game, especially on back-to-back. Didn't feel like the legs were there. Didn't feel like the boys were hungry by any stretch of the imagination. But if you had to pick a money moment of the game for the St. Louis Blues, or maybe for the game at all, what would you take and why?
This is going to be, and I want to be able to make sure I'm trying to get the most numbers here out of this, because I don't think it's a moment here per se, but more than like it's a player. I can't see the number of total shots, at least shot attempts here just quickly. 33 shots here on goal. I know that he let up 4 goals against, but in my opinion, I mean, my money player here of the game here was Joe Hofer. He absolutely kept this team here in it. I mean, this could have been a 10-0, 10-1 game here very early on. And without making some of his just brilliant saves, Joel Hofer just kept this team in it. The Blues definitely had some chances, and rightfully so. I mean, I guess with the way that these Blues team here has been playing, Vegas had even more chances, including chances here on the penalty kill, and Joe Hofer came up just brilliantly here, just time after time after time. And so my money moment turned into player here is just going to be Joel Hofer.
Yeah, I think mine's going to take a little bit of a different route. And if you tuned into the last post game for the St. Louis Blues, we were talking about bets we would make in the next game. And I mentioned that if you wanted to get rich off of sports betting, I'd probably lay some money down on anytime goal scorer Brandon Saad. And lo and behold, who gets it started for Vegas Golden Knights but Brandon Saad potting one into the back of the net. So that's going to be my money moment of the game, because if it was December 1st, I would have put money down on that, and I would have made a good amount of cash to put in my bank. So I'm going to go with that one, because there weren't many green pastures for the St. Louis Blues outside of the Broberg goal at the end. But even that's almost like, I would almost, I don't know, like, it's almost like a slap in the face. It's like, oh yeah, last second, like, okay, well, it's been 55 minutes of the game, but like now we figured it out, guys. So don't
Hmm.
worry. It's like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a tough one. When I had stepped away to be able to use the restroom just really fast, and then of course, I get the notification that he scored the goal, and I was like, oh, I really want to text you, Thomas, right now, and just like I can't believe this. So yeah, I
Pretty
mean, it's
good call
definitely a
out
good call
though.
here on your end.
Yeah, this another great call out. Jeremy Hodge says, "Get to the dirty areas." Yeah, I absolutely agree. The broadcast did a great job of breaking down all of the chances that Vegas was throwing at the net that was making life
Hmm.
difficult for Joel Hofer, but also the high danger chances from the slot area and from the crease. I mean, they're just all over the place, and I think that kind of whatever chat wants to call me a Bennington and Hofer like apologist, that's fine. But my mindset for this team like will always circle back to the defense because it's been a systematic problem for this team since Alex Pietrangelo left. So,
Yeah.
like even going back to last season and talking about Joel Hofer and Jordan Bennington being like one of the best goaltending tandems like in the league, like I think we're still dealing with that. But the reason that they look awful is because this Blues team doesn't even trust 2 out of its 6 defensemen that are playing on a nightly basis, like with ample ice time. Like that
Yeah.
should tell you everything that of like Jim Montgomery's opinion of this defensive core and how much they've struggled with the system.
What do you think here right now? I almost hate to say, like, there's not really much more for us to say here, just like about tonight's game. What do you think here, like, about the homestand? What were your thoughts here, just about the season here in general, as they get ready to go out here on the East Coast for a 5-game road stand or road trip here, for that matter?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a team who's 20th in the league in goals for, last in the league here for goals against. Somehow they have the 10th best power play, at least stats going into this game. 29th in PK, 14th in faceoff. Like it's just this is a weird team statistically, but it's again just so far gone that I just don't know what to make of them.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is you're 3-5-4 at home, right? And I think especially with the way that Jim Montgomery talks about home ice advantage, like it's very obvious that this is not like a Jim Montgomery, like, oh, like let's go home and be comfortable and like like hang out at the house with the fam and like come to the rink and just make sure you're prepared and get a good nap in and like like there is not a lackadaisical mindset from Jim Montgomery. And so to me, right, like if you've been struggling for this long, fourth of the season at with games at home, even with Jim Montgomery being like, hey, this is important and something that we need to focus on, like there's a disconnect there between like what Jim Montgomery is saying and how the players are taking it, right? D Brown's just said the Blues have zero emotion. And I agree, but like to some extent, right? Like it feels like they have emotion in like the post game press conferences, and it feels like they have emotion, but the emotion is like, here we go
Somber.
again. The emotion is like, yes, sorrow. When like Jim Montgomery is like, I want to see players with fire in their belly and like determination and like, go out. If you get scored on twice, like you want to see people pissed off, taking
Hmm.
liabilities, dropping the gloves, banging bodies into the boards. Feels like we've seen like 3 massive hits this season total from the St. Louis Blues. 2 of them were probably Braden Shen, and one of them was Colton Parayko on accident. And then he got asked to drop the gloves afterwards. He said no, and Braden Shen fought for him. So like that kind of tells you like the mindset and the microcosm of this team as a whole right now. I think it's a pretty solid sample size of what's going on from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, and just for to I think add a final point here to this, they're they're not doing anything here with the puck. That's the hard thing here with it, because even if and when that they are getting puck possession, they're just not doing anything with it.
And
That
fumbling left and right, like, and that's
yeah,
tough too because it's like there's just such a disconnect. And then we're playing these other teams and they're like snapping 6 passes in a row, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, I know that this Blues team was doing that last season, so like, how is there such a contrast to what we're seeing now?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and even watching it last night, they for a little while were getting some good offensive, just good sustained pressure. but they just kept cycling and cycling and cycling. I'm like, are you guys going to eventually shoot the puck? Like, be able to do something with it? But that's just all that we keep seeing is just cycling after cycling. And even if they do get the shot, there's no rebounds, there's nobody in front of the net. And that was, a problem earlier in the season. And finally, when it seemed like that they were getting it fixed, then the problem just resurfaces again. And there's nothing consistent about this team other than inconsistency.
Yeah, and because of that, it feels like we're kind of, talking about the same things on every episode of these post games, right? But it's like, what are we supposed to do when we're seeing the same problems consistently night in and night out with the squad and nothing changes? So it's like, there's not that much to talk about. And there's a lot of other stuff going on, including the Mizzou game. So we're going to start wrapping here soon. But John Patrick Van Pelt in the comment section says, next up is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Should fans expect a win on Tuesday night? Brother, like I said earlier in this, I'm not expecting a win against anybody right now. So I would say no. I will say that it kind of bodes in the Blues' favor that they're catching the Toronto Maple Leafs now because they're going to be without Austin Matthews and without Stolars in net. So, later on in the season when those guys are in the fold, it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult on you. But everything's difficult for the St. Louis Blues right now, and feels like they're fighting it every single night. So, do I expect a win? No. But like at this point, and we've talked about it on here before, but like I'm more worried about the process than I am about the results. And I think the most concerning thing for me about the St. Louis Blues is not that they lost tonight to the Vegas Golden Knights, because even going back to last post game, like I was kind of expecting it. Don't take the money line, all those things. But it wasn't even close. Like it never felt like the Blues were in the game. And it's like, any given night in the NHL, like any team can beat anybody. But it didn't feel like the Blues ever really gave themselves a chance from the jump because of the fire, because of the, emotion, because of the jump that they had from the start of puck drop. Like it just didn't align with what you were seeing from the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's why you got the result that we saw tonight. So I think it starts with the process. I think it starts with being proud of the product that you put on the ice on a nightly basis. If you start losing games 3-2, or even a game like 3-1, where it's like an empty netter at the end, or like, they scored 2 third period goals when you have like a couple lapses. But like if you're hanging with teams for the most part of the game, like these post games sound completely different. But it's like when you're getting embarrassed, like for a full 60 minutes, full 3 periods, and it's like we're trying to find a money moment of the game, and it's like, yeah, it was, there were moments.
They came up.
There were moments like, it's like, yeah, counting our nightmares to try to find a money moment of the game. It's like, it's tough to be positive about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the good news is that they're going to be getting, a couple days off, as they head over here to the, the East Coast, head up to Toronto. I'm hoping that they're going to get their rest, drink their energy drinks, their protein shakes, whatever. I know I'm going to be drinking like our Drink Thunder in order to be able to help stay awake or be able to help, keep anything, which reminds me, fuel your fire here with Drink Thunder, the all natural pre-workout that hits different. I know cheesy, but let's be able to make it here. Plant-based, fruit-powered, zero sugar, sweetened naturally here with monk fruit. Each serving is packed with vitamins, minerals, antitoxins to ignite your energy and push your performance here to the next level. Choose your flavor: orange mango, blackberry lemonade, or strawberry cream. The feel, the rush, the natural way. Order now at drinkthunder.com. So hopefully they're going to be able to do something.
Yeah, and we're going to need something against the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they very much have a next man up mentality, and we know very well that the Toronto Maple Leafs fans will not accept them losing to basically anybody in the NHL, and they will let them hear it. So the Blues are their Blues fans are starting to let them hear it as well. So it'll be a battle of some fans going up and down, to say the least. But in your estimation, Mike, give me before we wrap here, because we're getting there, not very quickly, but give me your predictions for the Blues game against Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to go with a final score, and then kind of what we did last time, something kind of out of the park, dark horse, something you can bet on, somebody you think is going to score, start, get healthy, scratched, whatever it might be.
So right now, here I'm peeking here just really fast at what Toronto here has been putting up. They've still been putting up consistently 5 goals, 4 goals. So I'm still going to go with the fact that they're going to be able to put up 5 goals here against St. Louis, and it's going to be probably a 5-2 loss here against Toronto. And then you
Five to
said here
two.
just 5-2. Here's what I'm going to go with. It's going to be it's tough for me to be able to say that. I don't want to have to say that, and I hope it's the other way around. And it's the Blues putting up a 5-2 victory here over Toronto. That's what I'm really hoping for. But
That would be nuts.
it's one of those, show me that you can be able to do it, and then I'll start going here in this direction. If I had to be able to do something that's bold here, I'm gonna say Jake Neighbors comes back from IR. It's gonna be a
Oh, I like
bold,
that.
bold, bold
He's been
take.
skating. He's been
Yep.
skating. He's looked good at practices, so I would love that.
Yep. So
Um,
I'll go with him.
I'm gonna go with. I will say this: the last time the Blues won, question mark, was against the Edmonton Oilers. Is that right? No, they beat the Flames.
They beat the
But then
Flames.
before
Yeah.
that, they beat the Oilers 3-2. Feels like these Canadian teams
Oh,
that
the
are like
Canadian trend.
it feels like, yeah. If we keep it going with the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know, I I know Aaron Dodson's gonna get on this for sure. I'm not expecting a win, right? But in terms of trends and what's happening here, it feels like these Canadian teams just can't figure out how to beat the St. Louis
Yeah.
Blues, or they come and take them for granted, and then the Blues kind of like somehow figure out how to punch them in the mouth. I'm gonna say the Blues win 3-2.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Jordan Binnington starts, but I'm also going to say, because of this back-to-back at home where you have, the it feels like the ups and downs of this season, like, against the Flyers, you played pretty well and then pretty much choked it away, which is what we've seen throughout the course of the season. And then against the Vegas team, you were never close, which is also a lot of what we've seen this season. Now you've got 2 days in between this Vegas game and the Toronto Maple Leafs game. I think the last time we saw a break like that after a tough loss, we saw Logan Mailloux get sent down to the AHL. I think there's going to be some kind of, maybe not like a massive pipe bomb, but some kind of pipe bomb, whether it's large or small, that happens in these next 2 days. Whether it's player getting traded, which would be insane, or like whether it's somebody,
So some sort of
moving out
roster
of the
move.
lineup or something like that. I think something's going to happen here for Doug Armstrong to kind of rattle the cage again and be like, wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. They got to be able to do something.
Yeah, you gotta get the boys in motion. But that, like we said, that is all the time we have for today. So from me, Thomas Welch, and Mike Meyer, we appreciate chat, keeping it flowing as always. Obviously not the results we want consistently, but hoping the boys turn it around, especially next game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We will be here that game and every single post game immediately after games to break down reactions all season long, all 82 games. Doesn't matter what the results will be. Doesn't matter if we're going after Gavin McKenna or a playoff spot. We will be here every single time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to STL Sports Central on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere your attention is. That's where we want to be. So appreciate you guys so much. We will see you guys next time after the Maple Leafs game. Peace.